Welcome to Hospitality on the Rise, the podcast about the people shaping the hospitality industry and their journeys. I'm your host, Alice Cheng, founder and CEO of Culinary Agents, hospitality's go-to hiring platform, and I'm here to give you your dose of virtual mentorship. Here, we'll be sharing the stories, lessons learned, and advice from hospitality leaders who've carved out their own path to success. After all, this industry is where many get their start and go on to do incredible things. Whether you're a pro, starting out, or just love the hustle, this podcast highlights what makes hospitality extraordinary: the people. So excited to have Maneet Chauhan here with us today. Maneet, every time I see you, I just want to smile, and I have a ear to ear beaming smile because that's usually what's meeting me as well. For those of you who are listening and not watching, Maneet is the president and founding partner of Morph Hospitality Group, a collection of wonderful restaurants and based in Nashville, as well as I think other projects, which we will hear about. And she is a regular on the television circuit. Food Network, as a TV show judge, as well as contestant and champion for Food Network Tournament of Champions. I feel like I have to have that voice every time I say that. Season 2 and season 5. Winner of James Beard Award of Excellence, Media Award, as well as cookbook author, Flavors of My World, as well as some other things. But we'll get to all that during the show. Thank you so much, Maneet, for coming and sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure seeing you and just chatting with you.
Yeah, let's just have a chat. We're
I
just having a
know.
chat on but not really chatting today because nobody wants to hear me talk. We're here to hear about how you got started and your career journey because it's um so inspiring. So how did you know that this was the industry for you?
It's really interesting. When people ask me that question, I try to pinpoint that one moment where I thought that this is what I want to do. But I think it was just an evolution of small steps that made me realize this is what I wanted to do. So I grew up in India in this really small town. My dad, an engineer, my mom, principal of a school, and everybody in the community that we were growing up in was starting to be a doctor or an engineer, or if you're really thinking outside the box, maybe an accountant or a lawyer. And over here, I was that renegade who really was never into like studying. I struggled through school, right? Because it never was something that I was fascinated with. And somewhere along the way, as a young kid, my love was always into food. So when I would finish dinner at home, I would go over to my neighbors' houses, tell them that my parents hadn't fed me. So can I eat with you guys? And it was amazing because where I grew up, there were people from different parts of India. And each state, each region has a very distinct cuisine of its own. So what was being made at our house was not being made by, our neighbors. So I would get to eat all of these different dishes, different, see different techniques, which I didn't see in my house. And later on, I realized that, it was that very powerful connection that I could have a conversation with anybody over food. And I didn't need to know the same language. I didn't need to have the same beliefs. And I think that was something where I really started seeing that food is something that I wanted my, life to follow. And then my older sister, when she went to do her undergrad, every time I would go to meet her, I would take food. And I soon realized I was the most popular kid on campus and I didn't even go to school there. And I was like, aha, this is what I want to do. And there were a lot of naysayers, not my parents. They were very, very supportive. Have been, always will be. But they were, people who would come and say, if she studies hard enough, she can be an engineer. And they're like, back off, let her do whatever she wants to do. And I did my undergrad in hotel management in India because at that time they weren't culinary schools per se. Did my externships in some of the best kitchens in India. And then just before I was about to graduate, I asked one of my chef instructors, which was the best culinary institute in the world to go to. And he said, the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America. And that's literally how, this is pretty much, um, 47 years that I'm telling you in, 47 seconds kind of stuff.
I love
But
it.
it was, but that's it. I came to the CIA, graduated, worked at, my uncle and aunt were opening an Indian restaurant, worked there for around a couple of years, went to Chicago, worked there, New York, worked there, and then moved to Nashville to open my first restaurant around 10 years ago. So yeah, that's pretty much a nutshell of what the journey has been.
You make it sound so easy.
It was anything but. It was anything but. It's definitely, and I think I strongly believe that anything worth achieving in life, you need to go through the downs, because what you learn from your failures is so much more potent and powerful than what you learn from your successes. If you keep on getting successes, you'll take it for granted. Um, but it's the struggle, when they say it's the fire that makes the gold. That's what it's all about. It's that the 90% of the when we talk about the tip of the iceberg, everybody sees the tip of the iceberg, right? It might be beautiful and gorgeous, but it's the 90% of the sweat, the tears, the heartbreak, I think, which forges the strong people. And I think that's what's very important. And that's what I keep on telling people, like, don't be afraid of failures. Actually welcome them, because what you learn from it is so much stronger than your successes.
I love that, and I'm actually gonna dive deeper into that because, you know, when we talk to leaders, and then you in particular, is I even started off the show by saying, "Every time I see you, I have a big smile on my face," because that's the first I mean, that's honest, and that just came out of my mouth, but, you talk about the struggles and the real life of opening businesses, hiring teams, deciding to move to or relocate for opportunity, et cetera. You've had a lot of experiences in different cities, a lot of great culinary cities, and you decided to set up broader shop, I should say, in Nashville. Can you talk a little bit about some of your experiences working in some of these other cities?
You soon realize that business is not. I mean, it's very important the city that you are in, right? But it also comes down to your mindset, right? You look at a city and you figure out why you are in the city and why you love the city, right? There is a certain reason why the city is beloved by so many people, and then you pay homage to it, right? Because it's not about um, it's not that the city is so lucky to have you. No, it's usually the other way around, right? You are lucky to be in the city. And as long as you have that mindset, then you're able to give to the city. And once you start giving to this place, you start getting it back. So, be it the team members that you get, right? And a lot of these cities, a lot of the team members are not like Nashville. There is this amazing saying, right? If you find anybody who's been born and brought up in Nashville, you found a unicorn, because there are not many people who have been born and brought up over here and who've stayed back, right? There are a lot of people who've gone and then they come back, but that's what it's all about. So I think to us, what has really worked is that we found ourselves in a city. We are grateful to be in the city. Now let's figure out what is that makes the city so beloved, and embrace that, right? Like over here in Nashville, we have Chauhan's Ode to Nashville. It's our love letter to you. Like, and I think that's what really, really works. But in the end of the day, it also is your mindset that I am arriving into a city. Let's make the best of it. Let's give it the respect that it is due. And I think that goes a very long way. A lot of times people go to a city and say, "Oh, hey, we have arrived."
Yep, and
Enough said,
they're met
right?
with With
Yes.
both not just the actual city, but also the
Yeah.
people, right? The
Yeah.
community.
Exactly.
And we hear oftentimes or almost all the time, business owners that come into a community, they want to foster that community and make it even stronger. And I have had the very lucky fortune to visit some of your locations, and I will tell you that street and the energy is popping. So I am sure that the city is very grateful for what you bring to it. How did you so as if running restaurants wasn't enough, like, didn't keep you busy enough. You have, I wanna say, like, almost, multiple careers here. You have been on the television circuit for quite some time. How did that come about? Like, how did you get into that?
I think the best analogy I will say right now is, businesses. Right now, to run a business, one of the most important parts of running a business is having a social presence, right? Like a social media presence. When I started in TV, I'm talking about 2007, social media really wasn't that big. And a part of what you are doing, media was a part of it. Right. So if you're working at a restaurant, the chef goes for the morning shows and, does a demo and people see the demo and then they come to your restaurant. Right. That becomes a part, that's a part of the PR. Right. And that's pretty much how I stumbled on it. Right. When I was in New York, the PR company, came up with the opportunity to do Iron Chef. And I mean, when Iron Chef originally had come to America, I was at the CIA and we were all like, wow, one day I'll be on it, right? And then you get the opportunity. And then not only that, you get the opportunity to go against Morimoto, right? Also, the fact is, I think my philosophy in life has always been, if you get a toe through the door, okay, like blast the door open, right? I mean, why not? You have an opportunity, make the best of the opportunity, right? And I think that's like my progression into television has been very organic and very natural. It wasn't something that I have to be on TV. That's not how I started off. I started off with I've got to be the best at whatever I do. And I think people see that. So in the sense that I did Iron Chef, and the producers they saw me. They must have liked what they saw, so they invited me to be the next on to be on next Iron Chef. From there, I was invited to be a guest judge on Chopped, which was I think season 2 or 3, and then the next season I was invited to be the permanent judge on Chopped, and that's pretty much what the evolution has been. But it's not been that I've been like passive and like, okay, if anything comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I do reach out to people, I'm like, hey guys, if there's any opportunity, would love to do it. And that's literally been the evolution. Like I was like my first time on television was competing, right? Against Morimoto. And I love telling people I came a respectable second among 2 people, right? Better than saying I lost. But then, I at that time I realized I was a good competitor. But now I have become, even if I say so, a formidable uh, competitor, because over the years I have analyzed what I do good and what I do bad, and I have learned how to edit, right? And that's why TOC, not once but being the only two-time champ, it's a great high because it shows that under pressure and under crazy circumstances I can still produce things which are incredible and amazing. And I think that's what makes it so much fun.
I love it. I love it. When opportunities present themselves, take your risk and make the most of it.
Grab it by the horns.
That's
That's what
right.
it's all
And
about.
be yourself and be dedicated to it and do the best you can, and opportunities can follow. And oftentimes
Absolutely.
they do. And if you're going to be second to anyone, let it be Iron Chef Morimoto.
That is
And,
so true.
I think that's one of as a side tangent, that's one of the draws so much with these cooking competitions too, because there's, at the end of the day, you're competing. It's not all for show. You actually have to create something, right?
And it's interesting, the more time you spend in front of the cameras, the more you start completely putting it off. Or saying that, hey, this is a really cool move. You need to see, and then you start talking to the camera because it's amazing. People come to the restaurant, they've seen everything. I mean, there are kids over here in my son's school who has stats on I'm like, what? So it's really it's interesting, and I love the fact, like, to me, I think the best compliment that I ever get is when people say that I can sit with my family and watch this. There's very little nowadays that you can, sit with the family and watch, but knowing that you're a part of that, something as wholesome as that, I think that that really makes me really happy.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's true. Because especially family programming these days, the algorithms are, they get around any block, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And you mentioned social media. I mean, as you mentioned, it's hard enough to have a business, but then to look at all the different pieces, and in this age that we live in, it's like next level. You are very excellent at your social media, and I say this not because you're on the show, not because I love you, but you know, I I find myself watching them and, like, laughing to myself, and I'm, like, looking around, hoping nobody's watching me, but you have this, like, real you're sharing behind the scenes, you're like, "Here's me before, here's after," you're kind of inviting the audience in, and that's gotta be a lot time consuming, there's some skill involved there as well because 'cause you're doing some fancy things. H how do you balance all of these pieces?
I always joke, or actually, I'm serious. I'm not joking. I'm serious. The reason why the number of people who tell me they're like, "Oh, we love your befores and your afters and your done," and then it's all of that. I think a lot of that is when I look at my videos, or even if I'm doing some cooking videos, right? Simple cooking videos and stuff. I think that the reason why people like it is because they're so badly produced, right? It's because I am doing it, right? I mean, it is like this is what it is, right? It's not overly produced. And initially I would be like, oh, should I have somebody doing this for me? And then I realized that it's all about connecting with people, right? And what we are connecting with is the realness of it. I mean, in the end of the day, this is who I am. Okay. I enjoy doing it, and I really don't take a lot of time in doing this. Right. It's like, it's so funny. All the people who do my, HMU and stuff, they know it. And even before, like, I walk in looking like a cat which has been out in a thunderstorm and like completely, and I'm like, before we start, put the camera in front of me, record, great. After we are done, I'm like, ta-da, it's done. It's done, it's edited in 2 minutes, and it's out. I don't overthink it. Because what you realize is once you start overthinking it and you start thinking of the algorithms and all, that's not my forte. I'm a chef. That's who I am. Okay. And I know when to keep in my lane. And that's not mine. They are professional social media people outside who do absolutely spectacular, stunning work. Not me. All I'm doing is I am sharing who I am. I had a really good moment that, where there is a little bit more to it than the befores and afters. It is that I want people to see that you need to be really comfortable this way and you really need to be comfortable this way. You do not need to hide yourself behind anything, right? And that is the messaging that I want to put across. And it's fun. I actually thoroughly enjoy doing it. I know that I'm really bad at it, but somehow it resonates with people and I'm happy with it.
Absolutely. I mean, you're saying I don't know if you're watching it because it's badly produced because I think they're really great, but I think it's the authenticity. It really is like you're just here I am, and yes, I think it fits into the overall brand, if you will, because people see you on television, all you know, you know, fully presented by the
I have
team,
glitter from
and
my head to my toes. That's who I am.
yeah, and I think it is important for people to see that you are the same on and off camera. I can attest to that, and that's great because they're able to kind of connect with you in a different way, and you know whether or not it's intentional, it's brilliant. So keep doing
Thank
it
you.
because I, as a consumer, enjoy it.
I love that. Thank you so much.
um, and the other thing that I'll kind of bring together here is that yes, you have this media presence. Yes, you do this fun stuff on social media, et cetera, and you're a business owner and you have an obligation to further push that and get people into the restaurant and discover and you're creating jobs for people, but you are also heavily involved with supporting the industry and you make time to mentor, to share, to make sure that the people who are working in the industry and who want to work in the industry are motivated. I mean, you're taking the time to take to speak to us here, so thank you. Um, I wanna highlight, some of the things, some of the CIA awards that you've gotten also, and what are some of the ways that you keep your team motivated?
I mean, I think it is just to be authentic and genuine and give them the respect that they are due, right? I mean, in the end of the day, you've got to realize, I realize I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. I make so many mistakes in life. So you need to give yourself the grace that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you do not keep on repeating making the mistakes. Give yourself the grace for that, but also give your team the grace for that, right? I mean, a lot of the people who are working for us, a lot of them have never worked with Indian food before. I've grown up with it. Why would my expectation be that they know it as well as I do? The fact that they're taking the time to learn a new cuisine shows me how much they respect the cuisine. And I should be grateful for that, right? And then a lot of times that I over the years, to me, some of the most frustrating parts of working, for someone used to be when I was expected to do something without being given the tools to succeed, right? How? How? Right? Just be reasonable with yourself and be reasonable with your team. To me, I think that is very, very important. Respect is the underlying thing of everybody who works with me. But then I think also the big thing is that you need to push your team because they are capable of so much, right? But push them in a positive manner. Okay, it's like your kids, right? Your kids at times, they're like, oh, I can't do it. Of course you can do it. I can't do it. Of course you can do it. I can't do it. Okay, try it, right? You'll fail, that's fine, right? So you need to me, I think that is the bottom line. Respect and the belief in your team that they can succeed even when they think that they cannot. I think that is very important.
Yeah, and I think for those who are looking to kind of start out or advance their career working in certain kitchens and stuff, I love that point you had about learning a new cuisine. If somebody is interested in working with you because you are an expert in this cuisine, and they want to learn from you, and that's one of the main reasons why people look for the jobs and the employers that they do, is they want to keep learning. And I think that that's so important to continue to foster um, and stay connected to the folks that are wanting to get into the industry, who want to further develop, and then who want to grow their careers, right? And as you're demonstrating by just sharing, random thoughts, or not random, sharing your own experiences, you can work in restaurants, you can own restaurants and businesses, you can go on television and, be a TV star competitor as well as judge, or you cannot do that and, focus on other things. I think, the opportunities are limitless, right?
Agreed.
Just go to the door and kick it open, right?
Totally. Lost it open.
Bust it open. Um, I'd say throughout your time here in obviously you have big community that surrounds you in different pockets. Um, what advice have you received from past mentors that have really stuck with you?
I think so. One thing about me is that I consider anybody and everybody around me a mentor because learning it's an everyday process, right? I uh, I am I would be the last person to say that I know everything. I don't. I am still learning every day. But I do think that to me, the one thing that really resonates with me is resilience, right? It is you will be knocked down. You will be, right? It's not a may. You will be, right? It is up to you how you get up, you shake off the dust and keep walking and get ready to be knocked down again. It's completely fine. So I think resilience is something which is, it's the tenacity, it's the audacity, it's the resilience which I think is something that I've learned from past mentors, which just keeps me, going one step in front of the other.
Yeah,
And
and
sometimes the steps might be heavy, but you still have to keep on walking ahead.
I love that. And they could go up and down and sideways. And but how do you keep inspired and learning and growing? Because that's such an important part of.
I think over the times it's become the attitude of gratitude, right? I mean, it's like where I am, I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I have gotten, right? And I mean, it's not that I'm underestimating or undermining what I have done, right? I've put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but I got the opportunities and I took the opportunities and I did not squander those opportunities. So I think it is the attitude of gratitude.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What's next for you?
Wow.
What
Okay.
are the
So
secret
right
things
now,
you're planning that you want to share with us?
Right now we've got two restaurants in Nashville, Chauhan Ale and Masala House and Mockingbird. Last year, actually, beginning of the year before that, like end of the year before last, we opened a place in Disney Springs called Eat by Maneet Chauhan, which I'm actually really excited about because it is getting Indian flavors and foods to mainstream America, which has always been my goal, is to make Indian food a lot more accessible and acceptable and loved, in America. And that's one step closer to that. So I'm really excited about that. The usual TV and I'm doing a lot of events, which is exciting because I get to meet people at times, when you're behind the camera or you're in the restaurant, you miss that human interaction. So to me, that is important because that's how I feed my soul. So I'm doing a lot of events and yeah, just taking each and every opportunity which is coming by my way and celebrating it.
And given that you do all these events and you travel and all of that, what is your secret to balancing out work and life or just molding it all together?
Balance is a myth. Okay. The only balance which exists is maybe in the kitchen, the balance scale. I'm just kidding. Um, I don't think I balance at all. I absolutely don't think I balance at all. Right. But what has worked for me is the fact that the moment that I find myself in gets 200% of me. It's not shortchanged. Right. And I think that's what works for me. So, and we make the best of it. I mean, like next week or this weekend we're going on a cruise. I'm working, but the family is coming along because I'm not working 24/7. Whenever I'm working, but when I am back, I am enjoying with them. So I think that's what it is. It's not, to me I I think balance is a word that comes into play when you're not enjoying what you're doing. But when I'm thoroughly enjoying and loving what I'm doing, then I don't need the balance. I'm happy being completely unbalanced, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a common once if you're doing what you love, the lines are blurred,
Yeah,
right? And everyone has their own way to reconnect themselves to what they love, and then from there, build your ecosystem around it. And your common thread with it, with seizing the opportunity is also focusing on what's in front of you, right?
yep,
You're not squandering your opportunity, or you're not squandering the time that you have with your family or whatever else you're doing. And that's great. I mean, it's something I think everyone continues to try to find, is what is their personal kind of happy place.
true. So true.
um, well, we have a couple of quick fire questions here.
Let's do it.
Since you're so competitive, I love this. Take your time with these answers. Um, what advice would you tell your younger self?
Don't be so afraid of mistakes and failures. At times, they are these mistakes, and being afraid of mistakes and failures at times prevents you from making a decision or taking a step which you might regret later on. So just jump into the deep end and you will learn how to swim.
What's your advice for someone struggling in the industry?
Go ahead and compartmentalize your feelings in the sense that Struggling in the industry is completely fine. It's important. That's your right to passage, right? But don't let that struggle go ahead and bring you down, right? It is easier said and done, but it's a mindset. When you're like, okay, I'm struggling, this is fine, and this is going to go towards building a stronger future for me. So struggles are normal, and it's not just this industry. Any industry you are in, you will struggle. Life, you will struggle. But it's not something that should be, a full stop that, oh, I'm struggling in the industry, let me go to another industry. Any industry you go into, you will struggle. So love what you are doing, because that is going to make the struggles easier.
What's your advice for fellow hospitality leaders?
I think empathy. I think we need to start developing a lot more empathy, right? We've been there. Let's not forget about the fact that we've been there. Our team, yes, at times it is dealing with kids, but let's go ahead and anytime we want to say something which we know that we shouldn't, just take a deep breath and think of the time that you were there, or try to empathize yourself being in that person's shoes. You don't know what they are going through, so empathy.
I love it. With that note, Maneet, thank you so much. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for taking the time to share a little bit about your journey, truncated in a small amount, your whole life's journey, and the invaluable advice that you have for the industry.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Remember, success looks different for everyone in hospitality. No two paths are the same. If you have a leader or a topic you want to hear about, email media@culinarygents.com. Hospitality on the Rise is brought to you by Culinary Agents, connecting top talent with employers since 2012. Whether you're hiring or looking for your next opportunity, join us at culinarygents.com. For more inspiration, subscribe to Hospitality on the Rise and visit hospitalitycareerpaths.com, a free platform by Culinary Agents. Until next time, keep rising!